Savile Row fashion.
Savile Row style.
But this is London Collections. Do you not think it's about pushing fashion forward as opposed to? I totally understand that there's an element of sartorial elegance to this, but how far is fashion about pushing the boundaries, or is it about
elements of fashion are about pushing the boundaries. I think you can maintain something that is classically beautiful and elegant and fit for purpose. If you think about what it is that the modern man gets up to and what his lifestyle requires of his wardrobe, you can find things that are fit for purpose that kind of move on incrementally. I don't think things have to move on radically to be taken seriously to fashion credentials.
So do you think modern man thinks of a suit as a part of his daily wears, or not something necessarily he would wear on his wedding day?
Listen, do you know what? I have to put my hand up and be completely honest. This is my first men's collection, because there was always a woman's journalist.
Do you know what? I'll put my hand up and say it's my first one too.
No, but what's fascinating to me, having spent 20 odd years on the women's 20 years on the women's circuit, is how many amazing things I've seen. I just think, I want to buy that, and I want to buy that, and I want to buy that, and I want to buy that. There is this incredible kind of androgyny thing going on right now. There's a huge crossover in Harvey Nichols, which is where my new job is, where we have women buying menswear, a lot of women buying Givenchy, for example, a lot of women buying men's Lanvin, a lot of women buying...
Do you think, sorry to interrupt, do you think that's to do with the models that are chosen as well? If you look like people like Aggie D, who's very androgynous in her look, someone like Arizona Muse, who's very androgynous in her look, they kind of encapsulate a kind of menswear stroke women's wear. They cross the boundary of both, don't
Possibly.
Like if you look at a lot of the men here, they're very svelte, their cheekbones are very high.
That's a very English thing though. That's very, because I was married to an American and he used to complain all the time that English block didn't suit him because he was much more of he was kind of 6'4.5", but not quite a jock, but totally different block, and that English kind of wasted and narrow thing just didn't suit him at all. It's quite typical of Savile Row, I think, in my limited
I would totally agree. I think the Englishman is much more based on the kind of the Nordic kind of Scandinavian look.
Exactly.
Tall but narrow silhouette.
But my goodness, can you not see where dozens of international designers have completely drawn their inspiration?
Oh, absolutely. Raf Simons, Hoyt Semaine.
And last night, the whole speech that David Cameron made at Diamond Street was about not getting back to, I'm going to paraphrase him now, probably clumsily, but not getting back, not necessarily feeling that we had to completely mechanise all of our industry in this country again, because that's too, it's too much of a too big a step. But actually to capitalise on the amazing artisans and amazing specialists that we have here, and to actually ditch the skills that these people have and the heritage and what this has to offer would just be criminal, I think. This inspires me so much.
There was a great documentary on Channel 4, I don't know if you saw it recently, Guy Martin, he's a racing driver, but he did everything, he's an Isle of Man TT racing driver, but he did everything about harking back to our heritage in terms of the Industrial Revolution, and it's kind of like, I totally agree with exactly what you're saying in terms of we've got to go forward, you have to remember your past.
Absolutely.
That's where we go, isn't it?
I'm employing a thing for reinventing Harvey Nichols, which is part of my new job, and it's called Reversing into the Future. Wow. Which is something that really inspires me right now.
Are you rolling this out now, or is this...
It's something that we're working on with a view to kind of unfolding within a year or two.
If you could just talk about that a little bit, how you see that going and what the actual...
It's all to play for right now. Do you know what? This economy has changed the scope, the way that we do things in magazines and retail, bricks and mortar, e-commerce, that whole thing. And what is fascinating me right now is that the new technology and that the way everything is developing has almost cleaned the slate. We're almost looking again at starting with a blank page. And Harvey Nichols was the first purpose-built department store in London. I'm calling it's not a department store at all actually, because a lot of our competitive department stores have become so vast and so massive. I feel they're almost like airport terminals. We are a Timehouse boutique is what I'm calling us.
Would you not agree that because of that, I totally agree that they've become a lot more diluted in terms of
Listen, I respect what they do enormously, but I think what we can do at Harvey Nichols will have a very precise point of view and also be a very comfortable, welcome. I mean, this is grand, Spencer House. but look how intimate the spaces are. Look how warm and comfortable and kind of nurturing they are. And
Well,
that
still is like a family bond environment, doesn't it? Like, it's like the family are gathered around the table.
Yeah, and that's an essence
back
I'd
to
like
the
to
core.
recapture for Harvey Nichols. It's ground that's been abandoned by a lot of the other big stores in London for very sensible reasons that make sense as part of their business plan, but they've left it wide open for us to inhabit, and I'm so excited to get in there.
Wonderful, absolute pleasure to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too.
Thank you.
Take care.